Let's go ahead and take a deep breath together. Cheryl began us last week talking about our Lenten series, Finding Meaning in Everyday Life. And today I want to continue that series and talk about ritual, but in that context, talk about time. I want us to reflect together on time, our relationship to time. I think you would probably all agree that in our fast-paced society, we are time-obsessed. So let's think together about some of our expressions or idioms about time, or things you find yourself saying, like time flies when you're having fun. So what are some other expressions? Just put up your hand or put it in the chat. Jorge's looking to see if he can see you on the chat. And just maybe take down your mask for a second so I can hear you, Troy.
Make time.
Make time. Carol. I don't have time.
Take time.
Take time. Linda? No time like the present. Stephen?
Time waits for no man.
Time waits for no man. What else? Fred? Time out. How many young parents know that one? I see some other hands. Jorge? Time flies. What else? Frank?
All the time in the world.
All the time in the world.
Make a list.
Make a list. Time is money. Whoa, said the preacher. Okay. So the longer my sermon, the more money I make? Okay, great. Dave.
All out of time.
What's that?
All out of time.
All out of time.
You snooze, you lose.
You snooze, you lose. Time's up. Time heals all wounds. Warren.
Time waits for no woman.
Time waits for no woman. Thank you, Warren. Time is on your side. Got nothing but time. In good time.
It's about time.
It's about time. Do you get the point? Mike? Time to go. But think about the things that we say also that are just a little crazy, right? She has too much time on her hands, right? Or I just stood around killing time. I mean, think about that one, killing time, right? Time management. They don't manage their time well. Have you ever said that about someone else or perhaps about yourself? So how do you view time? Is it something to be managed, controlled, mastered? I want you to think for a moment about the multi-billion-dollar industry of calendars, day planners, weekly planners, apps, training, time management webinars, all to manage our time more effectively. In fact, most often when we say someone is effective or a process is effective, it means they or the process has managed their time well, right? But time is elusive. Time is difficult to measure. Often people ask me, how long does it take you to write a sermon? You know what my answer is? 30 years. Time is the element by which each of us experiences and orders our days and our lives. But you know what? Time is not linear. How we experience time makes no sense often. If you are a parent, have been a parent, you'll know this expression. If you don't know it, it will ring true. Parents can say, The days are long, but the years are short. I was skiing with a good friend of mine last week, out cross-country skiing. And her son, which is our godson, is about to turn 18 this week. She said, yeah, Zach's going to be 18 this week. And we looked at each other and she said, how did that happen? Because the days are long. We know that as parents. The days can be very, very long. But the years are short. And this pandemic has warped our sense of time, hasn't it? I mean, think about those early days of the pandemic. In fact, I just had a moment. 2 years ago to this Sunday is when we went online the first time. Remember 2 years ago and how those first number of months felt when things were so uncertain, scarier than they are now, no vaccines. Think about those days when many had to work from home or had no work anymore. How those days felt. Didn't time feel different during that period? In the pandemic, I think we were not only robbed of our routines, but our rituals were taken from us as well. And we were the poorer for it. On some occasions, time seems to move so quickly. You say, where did the time go? I've sat with many people over the years who are transitioning from this life to the next, and so many have said, in some way or another, I just wish I had a little more time. On other occasions, time seems interminably long. Like if you're one of those Ukrainian families, for 60 hours in a car with your whole family, imagine how slowly time must move as you experience it as you're trying to get your family to safety. In this society in particular, we think of time as something we could fit everything we want into if only we had the discipline. I listened recently to an On Being podcast as Krista Tippett interviewed Oliver Burkeman. He's a journalist and author, and the podcast was called Time Management for Mortals. Krista Tippett says of Burkeman, he himself became a time management and productivity geek until one day, sitting on a bench in Brooklyn, he grasped that no one achieves the perfect work-life balance, that in the end, even the most privileged of us rarely get around to doing the most important things. Burkeman became, by his own admission, disillusioned with his at least neurotic attempt to organize and control time. And what he says, and I'll paraphrase it because this is how I understood it, and it made so much sense to me. He said, trying to manage time in our lives is actually trying to find meaning in our lives, to make space for meaning. But he goes on to say, the more I manage to get some distance on my own odd approach to try to manage my time, and definitely saw it in other people and read accounts of it, that this effort to achieve mastery, this effort to sort of reach the state of feeling controlling and secure with respect to time, now get this, it's not just that it doesn't work, it's that it seems to do the opposite of working. It seems to push the things that matter the most further and further over the horizon. Technology has given us the false idea that we are gods of our time. But we are reminded constantly that we are not. And our phones, you ready? Our phones can keep us from doing what really matters, like listening. Well, as the old Baptist preacher said, I've gone from preaching to meddling. Our phones can keep us from turning to what really matters. I know this will resonate with some of you, but there are days when this is how I think. If I can just clear my inbox, then I can spend time with my family. Then I can do this other important thing that means a lot to me. But clearing my inbox is like bailing a boat with a hole in it. So I can return to it again and again thinking, once I get this done, then I can do this. Am I alone in this? Okay, well, something stuck this morning. Great. Time. Okay, here's my point I'm coming to. That's why rituals are so important. They help us mark time. They help us stop to do the things that are important, to find meaning. They can ground us in meaning, no matter what else is going on. Cheryl gave a beautiful example last week of a Ukrainian Catholic priest in his ministerial robes saying Mass for other refugees in a bomb shelter in Ukraine. She said, it's such a striking image to see the communion table set up with a gold cross and ornate and colorful icons, and his intricately embroidered robe against the starkness of the cold concrete walls. Participating in a familiar ritual in an unfamiliar and even horrific setting can provide a sense of continuity between the past and the present and give some hope to the future. It can be a sign that God is with us even now. And I think of those incredible stories from the concentration camps when the Jews would celebrate Shabbat no matter what. In fact, one time, Elie Wiesel writes about this, the Jews in the concentration camp set up a court and they put God on trial. Have any of you ever read about this? They put God on trial and they convicted God of being guilty for being absent during the Holocaust. The trial was ended, the gavel went down, guilty. Then the rabbi said, okay, it's time for Shabbat. And they went and lit candles and sang the songs that brought them meaning, no matter what. Rituals honor the spirituality of time. They put us in touch with our greater purpose. That's why Judaism has as its center Shabbat, Sabbath. Christianity is supposed to have that as well. We don't practice it very well. In fact, those of you that have known me for a long time, I've been here a lot of years now, don't hear me preach very often on Sabbath. Why? Because I'm so bad at it. That's why. I've just returned from sabbatical, and I want to thank the board so much for, let me say it this way, gently encouraging me to take sabbatical. To stop, to reflect. It's been fertile time for me. When I was in Israel, we were having Shabbat dinner with an Orthodox family, and they all had these little Shabbos cloth bags that at sundown on Friday night they put their cell phones in, drew the drawstring, and they went in a particular place not to be touched until sundown Saturday. Sabbath, a weekly ritual. Berkman says, very approximately, we get about 4,000 weeks in an average lifetime. Think of it. I said that to Annie this week. We were on a walk. She said, what are you talking about? I said, 4,000 weeks. It's about how many weeks the average person gets if we're fortunate. She's like, that's it? That's all? Weekly rituals. The great religions don't agree on a day, but they all agree that weekly ritual, checking in with community, beliefs, values, gathering, is crucial to spirituality. The days are different. The concept of this is the same. Weekly would be too much, right? I mean, daily, church every day. God help me. Church every day? Too much, right? Church once a month? Not enough. Weekly. There's something about the practice. Sasha Sagan in her book, For Creatures, Small Creatures Such as We, says that almost everyone she knows has some weekly ritual, whether it's getting their nails done or a walk on a Friday morning or a family movie night or something, a special meal. Whatever it is, I encourage you to have a weekly ritual in addition to participating in community, to stop, to reflect, to ground. Maybe an evening that you choose where you simply light candles with whomever you have dinner and pause. Or it might be that you're entertaining guests. Take time before or after the meal to make it meaningful, to stop, to acknowledge each other's presence, the blessing of the moment to be together again, body to body, the blessing of food, the blessing of friendship, the blessing of being human to human. Make those moments special. Infuse them with the meaning they already have that we so often miss. Ecclesiastes says God has set eternity in the human heart. That eternity, friends, is the life of the soul, but if we're fortunate, we get 4,000 weeks to enjoy it in this realm. And I invite you to mark time with more intention, with more meaning. I just told you about my friend who I went cross-country skiing with, and she happens to be a UU minister. We've known each other for almost 30 years now. And she's a person that makes meaning out of everything. And I love that about her. So we're out on the trail. It's snowing. It's quiet. She stops. And we're breathing hard. And she just says, "Look at that snow." And she lived in it for years. But it's still new every time to her. And she's like, "Imagine each and every snowflake, Penny, calling your name and celebrating you with joy." I was like, "Really?" And part of me chuckled, "Oh, that's so her." And part of me later in reflecting thought, "Oh my gosh, making meaning, really being in that moment, the beauty of the pine trees against the bright blue sky and the snow falling, with the blessing of that moment." That in itself felt like a ritual to me. And I encourage you to make meaning in your own life. As Yehuda Amichai says, a man or a person in his life has no time to have time for everything. But as Mary Olive would say, to paraphrase her, what will you do with your wild and precious 4,000 weeks? Make time, friends, for what truly matters. And may you have a blessed Lent as you do. Amen.